mortgage, assurance, funeral care sous WSRF 1580 AM and 99.5 FM avec Kathleen Barreau. Nous là pour connecter avec toutes les ressources financières qui peuvent grandir. Each day, the cost of living is increasing. It is the same as funeral and cemetery costs. Pre-plan your arrangements today and save your family the stress of finding the money later. Finance your plan up to 7 years with low down payments and affordable monthly payments. To set up your appointment, call Kathleen Barreau at 786-253-0211. 786-253-0211.
Nous même pas haïtiens, les nous fin grandi ti moun nou yo, nous ba yo éducation, yo jwenn bon job, yo vin fonder famille yo. Ki sa ki ka arrive nan vieux jour yo? Ti moun nou yo a paye bill pa yo, petit yo pral l'école, esko déjà préparé enterrement? Pas quitter ti moun nou yo nan problème. Rele Kathleen Barreau dans 786 253 0211 pour ka edo préparer zafè enterrement. Pas quitter petit ou yo ap chercher l'argent nan mes amis. Rele Kathleen Barreau dans 786 253 0211 786 253 0211.
Good afternoon, bonsoir, bon après-midi tout le monde. I am your host for the next 28 minutes. You are listening to Chat with Kat on WSRF 1580 AM and 99.5 FM. We have such a fantastic show for you guys today. We have a very special guest. We're so fortunate to have her on the show. She does so much work for the community. Her name is Krisha Reed. She's the CEO of South Florida Institution of Aging. So as you see, I have like a theme going on here. You know, I have a passion for seniors, for older or gamun. And so last week we spoke about diabetes, but now we're going to have Krisha come on the show today. And I want to give you a very special warm welcome. So welcome to the show, Miss Krisha. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on.
No problem. So tell the listeners who you are. Who is Miss Krisha Reed?
So again, she said, I'm Krisha Reed. I am currently the CEO and president of the South Florida Institute on Aging. Mm-hmm. So I am been around this organization for actually 7 years. So I started off as the foster grandparent program director, which I'll get into that program later once I talk about our services, mm-hmm. and then transitioned throughout the last 7 years from that position to vice president of programs to now CEO. So my background is, I have 13 years of leadership experience working with marginalized communities. So not only just older adults, people that need housing, early childhood education, people that need utility assistance, anything you could think of. I was kind of like the collaborator and working with different organizations to advocate on their behalf to obviously get their needs met, direct services, but then managing teams to work together to make sure that people in the community are aware of services for them, are aware of what's going on, and being able to just promote community and getting help. So that's been really my background. I'm a native of Miami.
Awesome.
So I've been here my whole life. I did live in Michigan for 4 years, but I'm a native of Miami. My family's from Jamaica, so I'm Caribbean too.
All right.
I know just a little bit of Haitian Creole, but it's one of the languages I am trying to learn.
That is awesome.
That's a bit about me.
Okay. So it seems like you have such a heart for this, for seniors and marginalized demographics. What led you into this journey?
Honestly, just my background, my faith. I come from a Christian family. Mm-hmm. We believe in God, and obviously one of the penance is to serve other people. Mm-hmm. So I always had a heart of service. So even from when I was smaller, my mom would drag me around the community to provide meals to individuals that's experiencing homelessness, going to the food banks, doing things at church. That's just always been a part of my life. And then when I moved to Michigan, I think I was like maybe 22 years old, and I started working full-time, my first real job. That's when I really started working with older adults, and I was like, oh, wow, they're like my grandparents. And I just fell in love with it, and I've been with them ever since.
Nice. So what was the entryway into getting to where you are now? Like, what was the was there something that like ignited that besides, being a servant of God, your grandparents? Was there a mentor who might have led you in this path?
I mean, like I said, my mom,
Your
she's
mom.
the one, even now, she's 76. That's what we've been taught. My family, my siblings, our whole life is you are supposed to be of service to others. So she's the one that sparked that in me. And yeah, she's the best mom ever because
good.
she really, I see that in her. So it's not just like her doing it for show. That's who she is. If I was to bring her here today, she's gonna look after you, make sure you're all right. She's gonna ask you if you've eaten something. What can she do for you to help? Even with no matter what she has, it could be something small. She's gonna figure out what to give you. You probably leave out here with a bag of groceries.
That's cool. That's good. She did a good job in upbringing you guys. Okay, so let's talk about South Florida Institute on Aging. So tell us a little bit about the institute and what's its mission to the community is.
So the South Florida Institute on Aging is a volunteer organization that utilizes anyone that's 55 plus to provide services to the community. So any retiree that's 55 plus, they can mentor and tutor youth. They can provide companionship to isolated individuals, respite to caregivers. They can work with veterans and military families, as well as being in community centers. So in the community centers, they are basically the ones that do the congregate meals. They are in the food pantry. They facilitate a lot of the programming. We have volunteers that also do technology training.
Wow.
So there's 3 components to our technology. We actually have the classes that's twice a week. For 4 to 6 weeks, and then we have a help desk, which everybody loves. You can call in, you can get support over the phone or in person at a community center, and then we have Tech Talk. So we try to do it on a monthly basis, but it's just information and resources that you may need in terms of technology, any trends that are happening. We try to bring it to you, devices, anything you could think of that we feel like, especially cybersecurity and fraud is one of our hot topics, and we bring that there. So we have about 300 volunteers. We serve 15 to 2,000 people a year, and we work with like over 100 community partners.
So let's go back. You mentioned that. I just want to make sure I heard right. So the volunteers are seniors' peers. Like,
Yep.
Okay, so senior citizens are the ones that are actually doing the volunteering. They're the ones that's actually doing the food pantry and leading the tech.
Yep,
classes?
they're the ones that's leading all the classes. So it's a dual benefit. It's a benefit, obviously, to the people receiving the services, but it's a benefit to the ones that are providing it. They're being civically engaged in their community. They're using the skills that they have. There's some intergenerational learning there because we have volunteers that are in the schools tutoring and mentoring kids. A part of the program, too, is they are able to get a stipend because it is a federal program. So we have all 3 AmeriCorps senior programs. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. I know most people are familiar with AmeriCorps, which is basically service to America.
Right.
So it's similar to Peace Corps, but you're doing everything in America. And so they have AmeriCorps seniors. So all the 3 programs, so foster grandparent, senior companion, and retired and senior volunteer program, that is specifically for anyone 55 plus. And so if they're eligible with their income, they are able to get a stipend. And this is a national program, so it's everywhere in America, including the territory. So it's in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands as well. So they can get a stipend. They can get about like $300 a month.
Wow.
Depending on how many hours that they serve, they get mileage reimbursement. And not only that, we have bi-monthly meetings. Other areas might have monthly, but for us, we serve like South Florida, so we have bi-monthly meetings where they get resources that's available to them as an older adult, and then things they can take back to the community. And of course, they're being socially engaged, so it really is all the programs that we have are great for people that participate as a volunteer, and of course the ones that benefit from the service.
That is really neat. I have never heard of anything like that. The seniors are actually the ones doing the volunteer work. They're the ones actually teaching technology. They're the ones actually engaging with with other seniors. I think that's really cool. I don't know if you are able to answer this question. Have you seen like any improvements in their, physical or mental capacity with them being so engaged like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. The impact that we have, the premise for most of our programs is reducing social isolation, increasing social support, Obviously, their physical health as well. For the students, it's a little bit different. Obviously, academic engagement we want to increase. We want to make sure that they're ready for school for the ones that are in the child care center. So school readiness is also a big thing that we're looking for. But in terms of the volunteers themselves, yeah, we have seen physical improvement in them. Their cognitive ability, obviously, especially with the intergenerational program, they're providing that service, but then they're also learning from the students too. So we do see an increase in their maintaining their cognitive skills, an increase in their physical health, so more mobility. They're not sitting at home, because you know what happens when you're retired. You know, after you do all your traveling when you're able to, after you see all your kids and your grandkids, what's left? Just you being at home. So now they're out walking, playing with the kids. You know, they're doing stuff with the clients that they go into the homes with, or if they're at the adult daycare center or a community center, they're moving around. So that's also something that we notice in terms of health improvement. I can give you like one example. I had a volunteer, a grandma. She came into the program and, you know, she was using a walker. She was very heavy set. And after being with the kids for about a year, she lost a lot of the weight, and she was able to increase her mobility. She was walking around. She didn't use the walker anymore.
That's incredible.
And so she was just like so happy to be a part of the program, because she was experiencing isolation, experiencing loneliness, which we know that's a big thing for older adults. And honestly, even since the pandemic, loneliness is at an all-time high for everyone.
It is since the pandemic.
So I'm happy that we are able to have these services to engage people.
That's awesome. Are there any key challenges the company faces with the aging population in South Florida?
I would say in terms of challenges, obviously, we're always looking for more volunteers.
More volunteers.
We're always looking for more volunteers, because people need support. Organizations need support. The volunteers themselves, they need support. So we're always challenged with finding more volunteers. And again, especially after the pandemic, I know like people think, oh yeah, we're post pandemic. We're really not, because I don't think there's, well, I'm going to say, to my knowledge, like deep dive research into how everything affected us, whether it's older adults or younger adults. We see the transitions, we see the shifts, and there's like some preliminary data, but I don't think people realize how much that affected people. So imagine, our average age for our volunteer is 78, right?
78.
Yeah, and normally we would recruit like 30 to 45 volunteers a year. We weren't able to do that during the pandemic. So not only did our volunteer base age, some of them experienced some other health issues. So that kind of brought us down. So that's one of the challenges that we face in terms of providing support. Of course, funding. Because we're a nonprofit. We have funding to maintain the programs and services, but I'm always looking to scale. I'm always looking to enhance our programs. So if any of you out there know about nonprofit, every year you're applying for a grant, or unless it's like a 2 to 3 year grant, but everything is left up to funding on how much you can do in the community.
Now, you mentioned you wanted to enhance the program. What's your vision to enhance it? Like, what is your big picture or the grand scheme of things in Krisha's mind?
The grand scheme of things. So, it's some of the work that we're kind of doing right now, but creating more visibility for what we're doing. So in addition to direct services, we work with colleges and universities to do research. I think we have a great pool of clients that we serve, as well as volunteers that we can utilize to look at trends that are happening in the aging space. So we work with Nova Southeastern University to do some research. We have worked with FAU in the past, and Broward College and all that stuff, and other universities. But I envision being able to serve more people, so more than the 15 to 2,000 people a year, being able to do more research and see how that influences the services we provide. So do we need to increase services, add, additional programs, or maybe improve the services that we have? So that's what I envision is really, I think research and direct services work hand in hand. And then the third arm of that is public policy. Having the research, having the raw data, obviously, for the actual services that we provided, because we're boots on the ground. I think that enables us to really advocate on behalf of our volunteers. So while we are technically, a partisan organization, that doesn't mean that we don't advocate for our volunteers. So I see us utilizing our volunteers, working with our community partners and the coalitions and the committee that we're a part of to really make sure that in terms of housing, health, finances, those are my three major things that I really care about. I'm not saying that other things are important, but those are the main three things that our volunteers and the people in the community are really getting their needs met.
Good. So tomorrow we have a symposium coming up, and we're going to shift gears and talk about it. And this is one of the main reasons why you're on the show today. So, like I mentioned, you do have a symposium coming up tomorrow. What is the main focus of the event, and why is it important for the community?
So, the event that we have tomorrow, the 7th annual Aging in South Florida Symposium, it started actually in 2017. So originally was a caregiving symposium. It was centered on caregiving,
Really?
Trying to work with employers and other community partners to be able to support their employees that were also caregivers. Once we started that, we realized that it was important to focus on all aging-related issues, so that's why it shifted to the Aging Symposium. So the purpose of it really is to talk about issues that are happening in the aging space. So tomorrow, our focus is going to be 4 sessions. So the impact of technology on older adults. The second session is focused on the caregiver journey. So the resiliency, of caregivers, and especially thinking about millennial caregivers, caregivers that are of the sandwich generation. So you have kids and you're also taking care of your parents. So you're stuck in between. And then the third session is focused on end of life planning, really. So wills, trust, advanced directives, all of that stuff we'll be talking about. And then fourth is creating age-friendly communities, which is something that's important. How do we look at our communities to make sure that people can thrive and age as they're getting older and not feeling like they have to move somewhere else? So it is a benefit to the community, obviously, because they're hearing information that's relevant to them. So not only it will be older adults that are there, it's professionals and experts that are in the field, whether it's for health services, veterans, colleges and universities, all of that. They will be there to kind of listen in and participate. So we have some great panel speakers that I'm looking forward to them talking and sharing their information about those specific topics. And I think it is something needed, because for me, at the end of the event, we kind of have a call to action. So last year, housing was a big topic. And so out of that, we ended up having like a coffee chat afterwards where I brought in 2 experts in that field, one from Task Force for Ending Homelessness and Leading Age of Florida and Alabama. So they talked about all of the bills that were coming up for housing and homelessness, which a lot of that goes into effect today, October 1st.
Wow.
So we were able to really kind of share that information with people and really break down those bills, because sometimes people don't know. They see all these jargon that they're not familiar with. So we were able to do that, and then, go to the city of Plantation and other cities that were also working on these types of bills and really advocate on behalf of older adults. So that was a great thing. So I'm looking forward to the same thing for this event, is really having a call to action and really putting our mouth and our feet into the ground, and not just talking oh, we have all these great topics and it sounds so good, but then what? What's next?
So I want to just, before I go to my next question, I'm a caregiver, and you mentioned that you're going to have a topic on caregivers.
Yes.
So for someone like me who, I'm going to be there tomorrow, but those who are caregivers that are planning on coming to tomorrow's event, what could they expect to hear or learn at tomorrow's event for caregivers?
So in terms of caregivers, we have different speakers. So we have one speaker that is focused on sleep and the effects of sleep in terms of not only for caregivers, but even for their loved ones, and how that kind of plays a role in your cognitive abilities, because we know that is linked to Alzheimer's and dementia. And then, of course, you as a caregiver, if you're not getting enough sleep, you can't be at full capacity to serve your family member or a loved one. Also, just talking about the experience, like I said, it's talking about the caregiver journey. What does that look like when you first realize that you have to take care of your loved one? What resources are out there? Who do you turn to?
Exactly.
What are you supposed to do?
Right.
So having experts talk about that, what other services are out there. Of course, we're going to talk about us and our companionship, but it's not just us. There is a network of organizations that provide services to caregivers, and people need to be aware of that. And also challenges that are faced. There's also an opportunity for each session, including the one for caregivers, for question and answers. So not only will they get the information and resources, they have the opportunity to ask experts in that field specific questions based off of what they said, or even questions that, maybe they didn't get a answer to. They can ask that too as well.
Okay. So are there any notable speakers or panelists, and what insights will they bring to the discussion? So anyone notable that's going to be there tomorrow?
I will say I feel like all of the speakers will be notable, but I can name a few of them. We will have Dr. Alina Perez. She is from Nova Southeastern University, and she's specifically with public health. We will have Stefano Solario. He's from Carevocacy, so he's on the first session in terms of talking about the impacts of technology, and he's a great young individual that is also a caregiver that's taking care of his grandma, and utilizing AI to assist us and other individuals.
That's
so his
really
focus
neat.
is really in technology and age tech. So we'll have him there as well. Corlette is another individual. She has Remember 2 AI, which is a device that kind of helps track your loved one at home, tracking their drinking, tracking all sorts of things to make sure that they are able to live well, especially if you're not a caregiver that's in the home. Apart from that, we will have some elected officials that are coming to give greetings and give updates in terms of federal information for aging services. So Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz will be there. Oh, good. City of Miramar Commissioner Yvette Colburn will be there.
She's very active in Miramar.
Yes, and then State Representative Marie Woodson. And
she's Haitian descent. She's a daughter of the community.
Yes. So she won't be there, but I believe her husband would be there in her stead to address our attendees. So we got quite a few people that are out there to really give information. So
very good.
If you didn't get your tickets, now you know for next year to make sure to register.
Exactly. So what roles does the company, the South Florida Institute of Aging, play in supporting older adults with technology, job training, and social inclusion?
So in terms of technology, like I said, we have Sophia Tech Services. So there's 3 components to that. We have the classes, which are in community centers. They're also in senior high rises. We try to meet people wherever they are to provide the classes. So we have basic computer classes, intermediate classes, and then device specific. So learning how to use your iPhone, your iPad, your Android phone, your Android tablet. And then we have a help desk that started through a partnership with the Dan Marino Foundation. They have a school where they're working with individuals, young adults that have autism and other related disorders. So they started the help desk as interns, where you can call in over the phone, or now you can meet in person because it originally started during the pandemic. So you can call in, and we were able to hire them as part-time staff, and the goal is to make them full-time. So same thing, intergenerational learning. We have young adults that are working with older adults to teach them anything you can think of. So we've had a couple one time come. I always like to share it, where they were trying to renew their passports, and they actually walked them through the process of going online, doing the application, everything you can think of in terms of making sure that they can renew their passport. They walked them through it. So they love them. That's like their grandkids. So if you ever go to a community center and see 2 young guys, you will see swarms of people around them. And then the tech talk that I told you about as well, where people experts come in to talk about devices. Fraud is a big one because we know that's important. There's always something new, especially now with AI, even though AI has always been around because it's on your phone right now. With Siri. Yes. Siri is AI. Google Voice and all that other stuff, all of that is AI. So ChatGPT, but again, you've always had it on your phone.
And we didn't realize it.
Yeah, but I think now, because it's becoming more advanced and so fast, that's something that we have to constantly talk about. I think there was 2 other things you asked me about: social inclusion and
That's okay. We can
Okay.
move on. So, how can individuals and local businesses or community organizations get involved with this Sophia? I'm gonna call it Sophia.
Yes, Sophia is the
Is it
short name. Yeah,
Yes.
so it's fine.
Or the symposium. So, how can more of us, individuals or businesses or community organizations, get involved with Sophia?
So you can get involved with us. Obviously, you can donate. You can go to our website, thesophia.org/donate. So SOF as in Frank IA.org. And then you'll see the donate. So we're always looking for funding because that's the way that we can continue our services. And then you can reach out to us. We have an email line, so info@thesophia.org. You can email us and just let us know your interests. You can call us. So at 954-484-7117 is another way to call us. And it actually gives you prompts for different programs, because maybe one of the programs that you heard me talk about today, you're like, oh, I want to volunteer as a senior companion, or I want to volunteer as a foster grandparent. You can select one of those and be connected to someone. And I monitor our info line, so don't worry. Don't think it's just going to go somewhere into the abyss. I actually monitor that. So we're always looking for volunteers. If you are interested in doing a service project, maybe you have an idea and you're like, oh, I want to bring this to older adults. I want to do like a paint and sip, or I want to do
nice.
like a dance class. We're totally open to that because, again, like I said, we're trying to increase their social support and increase their social engagement. So it's not just about them giving. We also want to benefit them as well.
Nice. Where would these, if someone says, hey, I want to do a paint and sip, where would they do it at? Or a dance class or lead a class? Where would it be done?
So for it could be done at a community center. So we have bi-monthly meetings for our volunteers. We usually use the Tamarack Community Center. We've also used the African American Research Library. We've done the Pride Center as well. Those are the main places that we usually host events, but it can be any community center.
Nice.
It's just easier because we already have the space, so you're just
Right.
coming in. But if you're like, hey, I have a space, bring your volunteers here. You can do that as well, too.
Nice. So how does Sophia plan on building the outcomes of the symposium to continue supporting the aging population here in SoFlo?
So in terms of the symposium, of course, we always provide a survey afterwards to get feedback, and that's how we come up with developing the next symposium or what topics is going to be on hand. And then just through the discussion, we have our staff there looking at the questions that are being asked, what's the highlights of it, and then really focusing on that. Like we try to, like I said, the end is usually a call to action where we want to be able to say, hey, we took this problem that people were voicing during that time. What can we do about it? How can we get people connected? And making an ongoing conversation. So housing is not done. We didn't just say, oh, okay, yeah, we brought these two people on to explain the bills and then work with different cities. The ultimate goal is for us to figure out how we can bring housing services internally or make better connections with the community. So that's usually what we do, figuring out what the call to action is at the end of the symposium, and then what are our next steps of working with community partners.
Awesome. Now, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about the work Sophia is doing in the community or the symposium as our final question?
I will say, in terms of the symposium, we would love to have people participate next year. To reach out to us to get more information of how you could participate. We have other events, like I said, our bi-monthly in-service meetings. If you're interested and you just want to sit in and kind of hear what we're doing, send us an email so we can kind of coordinate with you to do any of that. So thanks.
All right. And lastly, the most important, where is the symposium at? What time is it? And when does it end tomorrow?
So the symposium is at the Miramar Cultural Center. It starts at 9 and ends at 2:15, hopefully. And there's something else you'd ask?
And if they wanted to go, how can they find out more information online?
Well, it is sold out.
Oh, it's sold
It's
out.
sold out. Yeah,
Next
it's sold
time,
out.
guys.
Yeah, so that's all I was mentioning. Next year, you'll be
Next
able to
year.
come.
Okay.
But I mean, if you happen to come, I'm not gonna say we're gonna turn you away.
So
but,
you can still come, guys.
we want to make sure we have enough space. But if you come, we'll figure something out.
Awesome. So you are listening to Chat with Kat. Thank you, Miss Creasha Reed, for being on the show. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and we definitely look forward for next year's symposium so we can get you on sooner so people can hear about you. Thanks, guys, for listening to Chat with Kat. We see you next Tuesday. We have another special guest. You were listening to Chat with Kat, WSRF 1580 AM, 99.5 FM, and see you next Tuesday.